Hello guys, this is Elias with the WPL import team, and in today's video we're going to use an XML file to import metabox custom fields to this WordPress site. Now into this video we have this post type called restaurants, and we don't have any here as you can see. So let's upload our file using this button right here. Alright. Now you can also download a file directly from an URL or FTP or use an existing one. But in this video, we're just gonna roll with this one. Now we need to decide whether we want to create new items, right, using the new items import, or if we want to update existing items. Now with the existing items import, you can also create new items, but if you wanted to maybe update some restaurants that are already here on this site, well, you wouldn't be able to do so with this new items import. You will need to use this one, right? Now, since we don't have any, it doesn't really matter, so I'm gonna go with this one. And next, I need to select restaurants from this pull down, and here it is. So we're gonna create new restaurants for each record in our data file. So all of this is good here in step 1, so let's continue to step 2. Now here in step 2, it's very important, guys, that you review your import file. Now, if you notice something weird or maybe something is out of place, well, maybe you need to double check that WPL import is detecting the right element here. Now, in this case, it doesn't seem to be the case, right? So here is the right element for us. So I'm gonna select that. And you can see that now we have all of our data. We have the restaurant's name, the description, the address fields, then we have our gallery. Here we have some reviews, cuisine, booking speed, and whatnot. So all of this is looking good. And we do have 1200 restaurants in this import file. So this is looking good too. Now here in step 2, you can do one more thing besides reviewing your import file. Now if you scroll down a little bit, you will see it at the bottom, which is this manage filtering options. Now this is very cool because there are times where you don't want to import your whole file, right? Maybe you only want to import some of them. So say, for example, that you only want to import some restaurants that are very, very good. So we have here this rating element, and you want to only import the restaurants that have great ratings, right? So let's say only 4 and 5. The other ones, you don't want to import them, right? Because you don't want crappy restaurants in your site, something like that. So what you can do here is go down here to manage filtering options and select the element you want to filter your restaurants by, which in this case, it's rating. So I'm gonna select that. And then you need to select a rule. So for the rules, I'm gonna say equals or greater than 4. All right, I'm gonna add this rule and apply my filter. Now, when you do that, you can see that this number changes and we no longer have 1200 restaurants to be imported. Now we have 606 restaurants, which are the ones that have ratings of 4 or 5. So with this, we got rid of the crappy restaurants, and not to worry guys, these are fake restaurants, right? This is some dummy data. So yeah, there are no crappy restaurants here because none of these actually exist. And since we have the actual data we want to import, let's just move on to step 3. Now here in step 3, we need to drag and drop the elements from this right panel into the fields we want those elements to go. Now WPL import won't limit you to use a specific element into a specific field, right? You have full flexibility here to use whatever element you want. For example, say you want to use the map address for the title, right? Well, you are welcome to do that. No one will stop you from doing so, right? As long as that's something you want. Now, in my case, I have an element here that's called restaurant's name. So I'm going to use that to be the title of my restaurant's post type. Now, before we continue, let me show you guys what we're dealing with here when we create a post manually using WordPress. We have our title and we have the description. And here we have the metabox fields we want to import. So all of these fields are simple text fields, and there is really nothing much going on with them. So let's just skip all of them. And here we have something more interesting. We have this opening and closing time fields. And when you click on it, you can see that this time picker shows up. Same with this open since field, which is a date picker. This rating is a metabox radio field, and it has a value and a label. So the values here are 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the labels are these stars. So this is important for when we're importing this data. I'm going to tell you all about it in a second. For now, let's just continue. This one is a checkbox field, so you can select multiple values. And this one is a select field, right? These 4 are simple text. And this is a very similar radio field. We have value and a label, right? Then in the media tab, we have an image advanced field, and you can use many images here under the same field. And we're going to get that imported to this too. And finally, we have these reviews, which is a clonable group in Metabox. Now we're going to import Metabox clonable groups too. Let's just go back here to WPL import, drag and drop this description here, and I'm going to drag and drop my feature image, which is here in the images section. I'm going to make sure this feature is enabled, the one that says set the first image to be the feature image. So since all of this is looking good, I'm just going to jump straight into the Metabox add-on. Now here you need to enable the field group you have, and we only have one, so I'm going to enable that. And you can see that WPL import fetches all of the Metabox fields we have in our post type. Now, like I said before, these 5 fields are simple text, and there is not much going on there. So I'm just going to drag and drop those real quick so we can move on to more interesting stuff, right? Here's the city, and lastly, the neighborhood. Cool. Now, here for the opening time, you remember, guys, when we clicked here, this time picker showed up, and you can also expect the same behavior for the date picker, right? And here in WPL import, there is something very similar. So when you click on it, you can select a value from this time picker, right? When you set up a static value using this UI, right? Because you can do this with this rating too, with the cuisine, right? With this dress code, you can select values from here. But that will mean that whatever value you set up right here, right? So if I use this date here, all of these 606 restaurants will have the same values right here. So if you wanted to use dynamic values, because maybe all of these restaurants have different opening and closing times and dress codes and ratings and whatnot, well, you will need to drag and drop the elements like so. And with this, WPL import will translate whatever time format you have, right, into something that's readable by your Metabox time field. Now I'm going to do the same with the closing time, and you will have the same behavior with this date picker. So I'm going to drag and drop this open seams element, and that's it. Now, guys, you will notice that this rating doesn't have a field. You can just drag and drop some stuff. So if you try that, you will see that you won't be able to do so. Now, the way we do it is selecting this option that says set with XPath. Now, guys, if you know what XPath is, then great. You know, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff in here, and WPL import will be able to process them. Now, if on the other hand, you don't know what XPath is, there is nothing to worry about it, guys. You don't need to know what XPath is or how any of this works to use WPL import. If you don't know what XPath is, just click on it and drag and drop your value in the box that's gonna show just below that, right? And with this, WPL import will use this rating element to import this data dynamically, right? Now, for the cuisine, remember, guys, this is a checkbox field, which means that you can select multiple values, right? So let's set this with XPath, and for multiple values, you need to separate those values with commas. So be sure that your import file has that format, and if it doesn't, well, you can also use PHP functions here in the function editor, right? And we have other videos where we can teach you guys how to do that. Or you can go to our website at wplimport.com and learn that on your own. But the gist of it is that if you know PHP, you can use that to manipulate your data however you see fit. And it's very powerful, guys, because sometimes you will need a specific format for some of the fields in your data. And maybe you don't have that, right? But With PHP, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with it and transform your data to whatever you need for your import. Now, let's just move on. We have here this rest code, so I'm gonna drag and drop my element like so. Then we have this one, phone number, website, price range, which is here, and the average price, and that's it. Cool. Now guys, we have here our gallery element. First, let's drag and drop that, and then we need to zoom in here so we can see which delimiter is using this import file to separate the different URLs. So in this case, it's a pipe. So we need to use that same pipe here. Now this will ensure us that WPL import will be able to separate all of these URLs and download them correctly, right? So I'm going to enable this option that says search through the media library for existing images before importing new images. And what this will do is, well, basically when WPL import is about to download an image, it will check out the media library to make sure that that image don't already exist in our site. Now, if the image already exists in our site, well, WPL import won't download that image, but use the one that already exists, so we don't end up with a bunch of duplicates, right? So I'm going to match this by URL, and I'm going to continue. Now, this is our last metabox field, which is a metabox cloneable group, and we have several ways of importing this, but we only have one for XML, so I'm going to select that, right? And we have great documentation here on how to import that, so you can click on this link, or you can go to our website at wplimport.com, right? Then click on the docs menu, and here is all of the info you need to import your clonable groups. For now, I'm just gonna blast through this so we can wrap this up. So what we need is the element that's repeating inside this reviews element, right? And the element that's repeating here is this row one. So I'm gonna drag and drop the row here, right? Let's zoom in real quick, and I'm gonna delete these indicators. Now, this is because this is the format required for importing clonable groups, right? Now, we're going to say for each row inside reviews, we're going to do as many sub-elements as needed with this data. So I'm going to drag and drop the reviews customer name here, the comment here, and the rating right here. And then I'm going to get rid of this, and lastly, this. And again, guys, this is as per our clonable group structure. So again, if you want to know more about this, check out the videos in our channel or go to our website here and you will get a lot more info on how to import that. For now, we're ready with the metabox fields. So let's just continue. And we have here our taxonomies. So I'm going to enable our cuisine, drag and drop that, booking speed, same here. And lastly, the availability. Cool. Now, these other restaurants options, I'm just going to skip them because, well, this is just standard WordPress stuff like the post status, post dates, this look, the author, and whatnot. And the default values work just fine for me. And lastly, we have here our function editor. And like I said before, guys, if you know PHP, you're very welcome to use PHP functions and manipulate your data however you see fit. For now, let's continue to step 4. And here in step 4, we need a unique identifier. Now, this unique identifier is, well, basically a way WPL import has of telling one record apart from the other, right? So if we didn't have that, or if we maybe use the wrong one, well, WPL import will get a little confused and maybe it won't create all of our records. Maybe it will use some records to update other records and whatnot. And well, if you want to know more about this, you can read this text. But if you don't want to overthink this too much, just click on the auto-update button and WPL import will just choose the right one for you. Now, these settings, guys, are mostly for when you need to rerun this import, right? And if you read them, you will know what they do because, well, this option will control whether you want to create new restaurants for the records newly presented in this import file. So that's pretty obvious. This one will control whether you want to update existing restaurants with the data in this import file or not. So again, it's pretty obvious, but you can hover on the question marks and you will get more info on how this works. Now you can also choose which data points to update, because maybe you don't want to update everything, right? Maybe you only want to update the images or something like that, right? Now in this example, I do want to update everything, right? And lastly, we have here this option to remove or modify restaurants that are no longer present in this import file. Now, the title says pretty much everything, but just click on it and you will find a lot more options that may be somewhat overwhelming sometimes. So if you get confused, just click on this YouTube icon to a video we have especially for this, right? Now, finally, guys, we have here our scheduling options, and this is pretty neat because although WPL import makes it very simple to rerun imports and exports, well, sometimes you just don't want to do it manually, right? Because maybe this file is coming from a provider and maybe that provider is updating this file on a daily basis, or maybe weekly, or I don't know. So if you want to run this automatically using the same file, you will need an URL with that file, or maybe connect via FTP, and you will be able to enable these scheduling options. And with this, you will automate all of this process, right? Now, guys, we have other videos and great documentation on them. So if this is something that interests you, just be sure to check those out, right? You can also contact our support team if you have some questions about how all of this works, or maybe if you're stuck at some point or whatever. Just don't worry about it, contact us and we will be more than happy to help you out. For now, let's just continue and run this import. Now, this is going to take a minute or two while WPL import downloads everything. So let's just pause the video here and come back when it's ready. Alright guys, so it seems WPL import has finished importing our metabox fields and our restaurants. So let's see if that's true by going here to restaurants and all restaurants. Now you can see that we have the number of restaurants that we expected. So this is a great start. Let's take a look here in the front end where we have this beautiful website. And as you can see, we have a bunch of restaurants here. So that's great. Now let's pick one up. This one looks good. So we have our feature image, the title, the rating, the average price, cuisine, and open scenes fields. We have here some other custom fields like address, neighborhood, open, close at, the description, the availability and booking speed. Then we have our gallery, which is looking real nice, right? And here we have our address, the reviews, which remember guys, this is the cloneable group we set up, right? So everything is looking good. Let's take a picture in the edit restaurant page. So title, description, taxonomies, right here, feature image, good. All of the location fields are good. So this is great. Then here in the details tab, we have opening and closing times, open scenes, the rating, cuisine, dress code, and all of the other fields are good too. Here in the media tab, we have the image advanced field with all of our images. So that's great. And lastly, in the reviews tab, we have our metabox clonable group with all of its subgroups, right? So there you have it, guys. Now it's that easy to import metabox custom fields from an XML file using WPL import. Now guys, if you want to know more about how to import or export other metabox custom fields, or if maybe you're using ACF or Jet Engine to handle your custom fields, just don't worry about it. Just know that you can do that with WPL import and WPL export too. Just check out the other videos in our channel or go to our website at wplimport.com. For now, thank you for watching guys, and see you next time.